In a post on X, LAPD says the demonstration is non-permitted, and by 6 p.m. the department declared it an unlawful assembly and began to close in on protesters.
Well, turning now to thousands of anti-ICE protesters taking the streets in downtown LA.
They marched onto the freeway and blocked traffic on the 101.
Blocking traffic on the 101. Send them all back. And if they're actually from here, send them as well. Their new friends in Mexico can show them around.
Speaking out against President Trump's immigration policies.
Are they really President Trump's immigration policies, or is he just enforcing our already existing immigration laws?
Police say some vehicles, were performing stunts and blocking streets. No word yet on if any arrests have been made.
Oh, and I also know some people will bring up, what about the January 6th rioters? Why don't you ever bring up the January 6th rioters? Well, it's very simple for me, and that's because the January 6th rioters were actually from this country. And yeah, that does make a difference to me. If you're from this country and you're disgruntled, you have a right to be disgruntled. This is your country. Our rights are designed for our citizens. You don't gotta like it. I'm just telling you.
Look at this. This is beautiful. This is all the people. We are the people. Power to the people.
What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so over the weekend they were having some anti-ICE, or as I would like to put it, pro-immigration protest all across the country, and in this video specifically LA. And I'll tell you guys, it really is the entitlement that gets me. And the reason I'm focusing specifically on LA is because the illegal immigrants in California specifically, the ones from Mexico to be even more specific, they tend to have a special kind of entitlement because they always say that that was Mexico, which you're right, it was Mexico, just like the last apartment I lived in was my apartment. It doesn't mean I can just bust in and live there now. And the thing is, if you know the history, California wasn't even part of Mexico for that long. California was only part of Mexico from 1821 to 1848. So that's 27 years. Meanwhile, California has been part of the United States since 1850, which means it's been about 177 years since California was even part of Mexico. So my point is, it's time to move on and, more importantly, move out. And don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-immigration. I am anti-illegal immigration. And there is a difference, even though people love to act like they get it confused on social media just to make it sound like people are being racist, just to make it sound like people are xenophobic. But they're definitely trying to feed a narrative and not speaking in facts. So while some people would like to say that I'm anti-immigration, I definitely am not. I do believe in people earning their way into this country. I do believe in people waiting in line. I do believe in people paying the necessary fees, because the way I see it is it's like anything else. If you've earned or paid your way in, you're going to treat it with more respect, which is a lot of the problem with a lot of the illegal immigrants is they come here and they don't treat things with respect. They don't bother at all to try to acclimate or assimilate. Instead, they come here and try to turn this into a mini version of what they left, which if you loved what you left so much, you wouldn't have left it. And if you come in breaking the law, there's a good chance you're not going to respect our culture or the American way of living. So I think that's why so many of us are fine with ICE getting rid of the illegal population, even though, like I said, they would like to blame it on other things. And just really quick before we get on to this video, I also want to say that I honestly do feel that if you're wrapped in or waving any flag other than the United States flag at any one of these protests, that should serve as you marking yourself as ready to go back to that country. Now let's get into this video.
About 6 p.m. this evening, police declared this an unlawful assembly. And since then, they've been working to get people to disperse out of this area. We still have CHP and LAPD choppers ahead watching where these protesters are going as they continue to make their way through downtown LA, sharing their strong message against President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration.
See, I honestly feel that if it's an unlawful assembly and you do not disperse immediately, you should be arrested on the spot. The ones that are illegal should be held for ICE. The ones that are actually legal should get a ticket or fine, and that's the way people learn. And yeah, you have the right to protest, but you don't have the right to shut down traffic because you, your family, or your friends don't know how to respect borders.
Thousands of people took to the streets of downtown LA protesting President Donald Trump's illegal immigration policies.
And that's what I was saying. Look at all the flags. Flags of a country that not only do you refuse to go back to, but also flags of a country that you will fight to avoid being taken back to. And I'm also tired of the news constantly saying that these are Trump's policies, when really these are just our existing immigration laws that Trump is using his own tactics to enforce. So the tactics are definitely Trump's tactics, but the laws are the same laws that these illegal immigrants have been ignoring for years.
The demonstration started on Olvera Street with a march to City Hall early Sunday afternoon. LAPD ordered multiple street closures in the area as the moving protests grew in size.
And of course, LA coddles these people and closes down the street instead of just shutting down or corralling the protests to begin with. And I will repeat, I know that they have the right to protest, but I don't really understand what they're protesting. Are you protesting the fact that you think you should be able to break the law? Are you protesting the fact that we have laws? Are you protesting the fact that the laws are being enforced on you and your friends and family? Or are you protesting the fact that we're even enforcing laws? None of this really makes sense to me, and I can't help but feel that if you don't like the way things work here enough that you feel like you have to protest, you should probably just go home. Go back to Mexico where it's better. Or go make Mexico live up to what you want the United States to be. If you don't like American laws and you don't like American life, it's even cheaper and easier for you to leave than it was for you to get here in the first place. I mean, I get it. We aren't for everybody. What's that? We're racist? Cool. Let us be racist in peace. Adios. Hasta luego. Vaya con Dios. Vai vai. Because if you don't know, Mexicans pronounce their B's like V's. Like, vai vai, baby.
It eventually shut down the 101 as demonstrators took their rally to the freeway.
I'm so tired of them cleaning up the language. It didn't shut down the 101 freeway. The protesters shut down the 101 freeway. And when I was watching the news the other night, a different newscast, and the guy kept stressing that it was a lively protest, and he even made it clear, I want to make sure I use the word lively. And it's like, why? Because you don't want to describe it as what it is? It was rowdy. That's what it was. And at the end of the night, there was a point where you saw the police actually get tired of it and somebody got some footage of it, but they started throwing these kids bikes. And when I say kids, probably 18, 19 years old. But there's a point where it's just got to be over. And then I was watching a protest in Las Vegas, and if there's any place the police will violate somebody's rights, it's Las Vegas. I live there too. And when the police are done with things in Las Vegas, they are done, because that city is built for making money, and whatever your protest or problem is, that is not going to get in the way of Las Vegas making money. And the officers that are off the strip dealing with you during your protest need to get back to the strip where money is made and paying customers actually need to be protected. So that got shut down pretty quick, I'm sure. And when it comes to the language, it's not just the cleaning up of the language that it bothers me. It's the fact that they don't report the story the way it actually went down. Because if you saw any of the video of what was going down, they started spray painting the side of the freeway. They were spray painting city buses. They also were getting in the way of cars, like trying to make cars stop for their protest. And you know, I've got to be honest with you. I saw footage from another city, I'm not sure where it was, where a guy jumped on a lady's car and they were really harassing this lady, and they actually climbed on her car. Like, somebody got on her car. Could you imagine if you or I got on somebody's car in the middle of the day for no reason at all? And that's what it is when it comes down to these protests, because you may feel like you have a genuine reason to protest and the rest of us may not agree. For the rest of us, that may have just been a regular Sunday, which is what it was for me. And I do have to say that while I'm not condoning people hitting people with cars, don't mistake me for saying anything like that, because I am definitely not saying that. But I do feel like when people panic and they do hit the gas, I don't really think that there should be a negative consequence to them for that, because sometimes when you have your car completely surrounded, which is what you've seen happen in protests like BLM, people do get nervous and they just take off because they don't know what to do. You've got people surrounding your car, hitting your windows. You don't don't know what they're going to do when they get you out of the car, or if they're going to be able to get you out of your car, what they're going to do. A lot of us are old enough to remember the Rodney King riots and when Reginald Denny got pulled out of the car and he was attacked with a brick. That's something that seriously happened, and Reginald Denny ended up having brain damage from that. So when people panic and take off, I don't really think that they should have their lives ruined, because as kids, one of the first things we're all taught is not to play in the street. And while you may call it a protest, some of us consider that playing in the street. Before we go any further, I just want to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. We just passed 68,000. When you hit subscribe, also click on the bell to make sure that you set it to all notifications so that you know every time I upload. Now let's get on with it.
With Mexican and Central American flags waving, signs referencing the president's stance on immigration.
And if you look at the signs say, without immigration, there is no USA. Okay, leave and prove it. And then the other sign says, no human is illegal on stolen land. Which, to give you a little bit more of California history, after California was overtaken, the United States paid $15 million to the Mexican government, as well as paid off some debt that Mexico owed to the United States. And then the Mexicans that were on the land at that time had the option of either staying and becoming full United States citizens, or they could go to the other side of the newly drawn border and stay in Mexico. So while with other parts of the country you could pull the stolen land card, with California specifically, you can't necessarily do that. And by the way, I know there was a war and a treaty and blah, 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 but we don't have time for all of that right now. So let's get on with the video.
Explosions of fireworks and chants of Si Se Puede, their message loud and clear against the president's promise of mass deportation.
Si Se Puede translates to yes, we can, and I agree, you can go home.
We're not criminals. We just want to work.
Newsflash, if you're here illegally, you are a criminal. Second newsflash, you can work in Mexico.
A lot of people just want to work. We all want to survive.
Sarah Aguilar of Long Beach is a daughter of immigrant parents.
I'm out here to represent for my people.
If what you consider your people are the Mexican people, then go to Mexico. Because this is the United States. So if the United States isn't what you're thinking about, and the American people aren't your people, then the United States nor the American people have any business thinking about you.
I'm out here to be the voice for the people that have been silenced out of fear.
Silenced out of fear. You know where there's no fear for those people? In Mexico.
I'm out here to keep pushing.
And as this protest goes into the evening hours, traffic completely gridlocked on surface streets right alongside the 101 as thousands of protesters take over the Main Street Bridge downtown.
See, this should never happen in the United States. I don't know how this isn't considered borderline an invasion. It's a bunch of people waving flags other than United States flags. I personally, and I know some people are going to get mad at me for this, but I think they should call in the National Guard. When these kinds of things happen, I think they should call in the National Guard. And do you know, not only did they put up with these people well past the time that they asked them to disperse, but also the people that they did end up picking up were released with no charges. And it's because of this that I do not miss LA at all, because these things would happen in LA quite a bit, and it would literally shut down my street. So it would take me extra long to get home, which if you know anything about LA traffic, it already took long enough to get home. And now I'm sitting here waiting a couple of hours to move a couple of blocks so I can park in a space that I pay extra for on top of what I pay for my rent, just because this country affords illegals more rights than any of us would get if we went to any other country and decided to just invade.
It's sad in the fact that they're coming so strong with all these ICE raids, and they're unjustifying the deportation of some of the U.S. citizenships that have been taken just because of how they look.
All right. I didn't know that one was going to make me laugh again, but it made me laugh when I was first looking at it, because do you know how much that would suck to get taken from the United States and deported when you're actually a United States citizen? So I went in and looked into it because I was like, that can't be right. And so I did a little bit of research, and what I ended up finding out was 70 potential United States citizens actually got deported between the years of 2015 and 2020. To which I would say, look more American. What do you want from me? But that would suck to get taken out of the country and have them just be like, come on, Paco, we're going back to Mexico. And you're like, I'm not Paco. Get your hands off me. I don't even know a Paco. And the other thing that makes me laugh about it is that's what Mexicans from Mexico or illegals here will say to us Mexican Americans all the time is, wait until they deport you. But I am not at all worried about being deported. I am too American to get deported. As soon as they put their hands on me, I'd be like, unhand me, you brute. I'm a United States citizen. Let me grab my license. But honestly, I think they could smell the American entitlement on me and be like, trust me, he's from here. He just looks like that. I believe they'd run me though to make sure I wasn't a criminal. But I don't.
This really hurts. Like, seeing everybody go through this thing, like I have family members, I got friends that have to go through all this stuff, and it just hurts.
Carlos Cervantes of Brea protesting in the downtown traffic.
It's all the hate, honestly, all this new laws that Trump is trying to bring into this world, like this is not what we're really like looking for.
Since taking office, President Trump has signed multiple executive orders cracking down on illegal immigration. In Los Angeles, ICE has begun deportations, a fear for many who showed up to this protest.
All right, so that's where we're going to end the clip. And I'll tell you guys, for me, I do not have any sympathy or soft feelings for any of these people, because ending your own fear or this struggle that you're trying to make us all feel for would be as easy as just going back to your home country, wherever that is. And I know a lot of times people focus on Mexicans, but it's not just Mexicans. And I've been over that before. So it's not like anybody's being racist and saying, let's just send the Mexicans back or let's just send the Latinos back. It's whoever you are. If you're here illegally, it's time for you to go. We have our own stuff to figure out. We don't need to be worried about you. We don't need you vandalizing things. There was another protest that was held, I believe, in Pacoima, which is a very Latino part of the Valley, which is also LA, but just a different part of LA. And they were doing donuts there.
A rowdy crowd of protesters also gathered in the San Fernando Valley. Police say about 250 people are at this demonstration in Pacoima. The group says they just want to get their message across.
We're out here demonstrating. It's a little ruckus, but we're out here showing that, you know, the immigrants do matter. You know, for our people, we help build this state and we help build this country.
And they were doing donuts and stuff like that. And really, that's just an excuse to do donuts and cause disruptions in the street. And do you really think that this is going to make anybody want you in the country more? Do you think this is going to make Donald Trump slow down because you will vandalize things or you will cause property damage? To me, what it reminds me of is sometimes if you know ghetto people or have known ghetto people in your life, they'll end up getting evicted from the place that they live. And so on the way out, instead of just leaving like normal human beings because it's nobody's fault that you can't pay your rent or you can't afford the place that you're living, they will bust out walls and do all sorts of property damage because for some reason they're mad at the landlord because they couldn't afford to live there anymore. And that's what a lot of this feels like to me. And the other thing I'm tired of is, like I said, the entitlement and the guilt and the shaming. And it's like, it's nobody else's fault that somebody brought you here when you were younger or you decided to come here at whatever point you decided to come here. No United States official actually told you to come here. So it's not like anybody misled you and said, hey, come here and we'll take care of you. And then you got here and suddenly that wasn't the case. You knew coming here that it was illegal. And when it comes to the people that are like, immigrants built this country, or more specifically, Mexicans built this country. Cool, it's built. You can leave now. Besides, even if you're right, your generation is not the generation that built this country. If Mexicans did in fact build this country, which anybody that knows the way the United States has worked out, it's been a group effort, was really what it's been. If we're all being 100% honest, that's what this country has been. But the people that you would be referring to when you say that Mexicans built this country, more than likely their descendants have been United States citizens for generations now, and they want you gone too. Anyway, that's where I'm at on it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see a video about how the trans community is absolutely losing it over not being able to change their gender markers, click the link on your screen. Other than that, as always, thank you for watching. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.